say about that.
Do we have any questions in the crowd? I'll start one. Does anyone believe that Mahdi is 16? Because I had a tough time with that, but anyway.
It's on? Okay. I wanted to ask you, what are the implications of an Ethiopian-born Miss Israel? And what does it mean for the Ethiopian population of Israel?
Well, it's wonderful. But she wasn't born in Israel, first of all. She immigrated in part of Operation Moses. So she wasn't born in Israel. Yeah, she's Ethiopian. Yeah. It's wonderful. As you see, back in the days, King Solomon fell for Queen of Sheba. So
Has her election as Miss Israel impacted the Ethiopian community in Israel? And if so, how?
I believe, it's a great pride for the Ethiopian community to have that representation. Hopefully, would like to see some change towards the Ethiopian community at large. But I'm not sure it's not going to happen overnight. Ethiopian Jews been living in Israel over the 30 years or more. It's a process. I think the Israeli have not fully understand integrated into the way of Ethiopian Jews are. Ethiopian Jews they live in separate areas. For example, I can tell you in New York, I sometimes read some Hebrew magazines or speak in Hebrew. Some Israeli will come to me and say, "Oh, how do you speak Hebrew?" That I say, "Oh, the same way as you do. I grew up in Israel." So, oh my God, I never met an Ethiopian. I never saw Ethiopian in my life. That kind of, so it's a long way to go about it. But I think it's a great step. The fact that she was selected to be representing Israel, but I think it's a long way to go.
I will also add that I think for the Ethiopian community and whatever stigmas the community has, I think they're not looking for a beauty queen, but rather more Knesset members and professors and people of thought and success in other fields beyond just the physical beauty that I believe all humans have. We'll take a question up here.
It's not a question. I read the newspaper every day, and there's such terrible stuff going on. I'm fearful for my grandchildren. I'm fearful for everybody. I don't even want to read the paper. But I'm sitting here looking at you three, who are such a combination of all the good things in the world that I really hope we can all look forward to. Each of you, from a different universe, landing somewhere, making something so major for yourselves and for the rest of us. I just want to thank you for your effort, and you make me feel more optimistic, so thank you.
We should hang out more often.
I have more questions like that.
I would like to echo that sentiment, as I think all of us do. But there's a documentary called Amir Got a Gun, and maybe some of you have seen it, about an Arab Israeli who has a passion to join the IDF and as an Israeli soldier. And in that movie, his community rejects him. And I know in this case, Mahdi, we didn't see how Mahdi's community felt exactly about him being a member of the Israeli soccer team. The movie doesn't deal with that, but I'm curious how that would play out, or does play out, for him and for other Palestinian players who have that aspiration.
I think it's happening in real time. I think this is the first generation that there's been that kind of integration. Some players around 10 years ago started on the Israeli national team. I forget the name of the club. I think it was Sukhnin. Yeah. And all of it's happening in real time, and I think it's been one of these very complicated things that you end up trying to assimilate and maybe end up alienated as a result. But it's all playing out in real time. I have no idea.
I do want to note before we take our next question over here that just this year there was a major news in Israel was the racism towards Arab players within the Israeli main league and in one of the leading clubs, Beitar Jerusalem. The leading Jerusalem team, they burnt down their clubhouse because they were considering to have Arabs on the team, and of course, there are many Arab towns that have fabulous soccer teams that compete in the Premier League. And if you go to a soccer game in Israel, you will hear the most racist chants you can ever imagine. Yet the game goes on and people play. And hopefully we'll learn to play better together. Let me just take a question over here.
It's actually a comment. My name is Karina. I arrived here because my son is obsessed about soccer. But this movie was just so much more than soccer. And I just wanted to point out the parallel from that community and our also American society. And I was just astounded at that because there's another dynamic to it, which is the Ethiopian. And I just wanted to say a lot of society always thinks about the contribution that a certain population makes to their country. And the African American community has made such an impact that it's like worldwide. And I think that the Ethiopian and just adopting our music culture will by that time transform and maybe adopt their own and make it worldwide. So it was just surprising.
We have time for one last, we'll actually take two more, one here and one there.
Thank you. We didn't see much in the movie about the interaction between Ethiopian Jewish Israelis and Palestinians in Israel. Could you comment on that?
As somebody that I grew up in a kibbutz, not far from Rafiach. Interaction, to what I remember with Palestinians, I remember as a kid, after I grew up, that there was a lot of Altizachen. You know what is Altizachen? It's people who they collect different old stuff. And and that was, I remember that those people, and we had good relation with them, and they were in the point that before the Intifada, people used to go to Gaza and buy stuff. There was no issue or interaction between Palestinian and Ethiopian, even in some point that the Palestinian felt, there is another black people that look like us more or less in this land. Some were angry, some were happy. But I, in terms of my daily experience with Palestinian, I don't remember as much. I said a little bit. I grew up in kibbutz near Rafiach. There were some workers that used to come, and we had interaction with them. But overall relationship on a daily basis, not as much.
This is actually a comment, not a question. We had a soccer movie about Sakhnin, about a very famous player. What was his name?
Abba Swan.
Abba Swan. And it was his story and the rise and fall of the team. But racism in soccer in Israel is a huge, huge topic. But the weirdest thing is often you hear Palestinian Israelis saying, "Death to the Arabs, death to the Arabs," and smiling and jumping up and down. And they seem to think it's like part of the game. I mean, it's really horrible, and now people are banning it, etc. But it's a very complicated topic, and soccer is really one of the ways that young Arabs within Israel can rise out of their financial status and get somewhere.
I guess I'll address that while you go up there, which is...
One last comment up there.
I remember right before the U.S. invasion of Iraq, there was a great shot that was taken at Liverpool, and it said, a massive, massive banner, homemade, and someone said, forget Iraq, nuke Manchester. So the point being is that, yes, racism is there, but more because passion in soccer. It's real and it's global.
Let me just add, I don't think racism exists in soccer in a vacuum of a society. It manifests in that society, and it's not doing something that isn't there. So there might be club rivalries and stuff like that, but let's be real about why it's there and what it's actually saying.
Hello. Hi. My name is Yuval. I'm a young emissary of the Jewish Agency. And actually, I just came from Israel 2.5 months ago. And I went to school when the boarding school of Israel Agus went to. I'm from this school. I know him, actually. Yeah. And I didn't know, first when I came here, I didn't know that this movie is going to be about him or about the school, and I was really surprised. Anyway, so, racism is a really issue in Israeli soccer, but I must say, I grew up in this school, and in my class there was our kid, he was in the boarding school, and he was just the most popular student in the school. They all loved him, and we were still really good friends. So I think in the when you go up to when you go down to real people, it doesn't matter so much. Seriously, it was one of my good friends. He was so popular. Everybody likes him. And I want to add.
Racism exists in the soccer in Israel, but I think that most of the fans are not racist. But when you hear about it, you hear about the bad things that happening. That's just a little of the fans. I mean, I'm a fan of Maccabi Netanya soccer team, and there are a lot of Arab players in Maccabi Netanya, and most of the fans are encouraged the Arab players as well. But when people hear about racism, they don't hear about the fan that encouraged the Arab soccer player. They hear about the racism that they sing.
I want to give a big thank you, first of all, to the panel here. A big shout out. Our call to action is our partners, and check out Bina, check out Soccer for Peace, follow up with them, and of course Ain Bustan, who spoke before the film, also doing fabulous work on integrating Arabs and Jews in Israel, and Chatzida Shmela, who also was a part of the screening. Thank you all for coming. We want the conversation to continue.